I see Phil's got his hand up. I'll welcome you if you can keep it short, Phil. Come on up. Come on up.
I think it's important that.
You got to wait to talk till you get to the microphone.
I think it's important that everybody be aware of the facts of life that it's taking place in our community due to this. I even prepared some documentation for all of you.
Leave one for Gary there.
All right. I think that's all I made.
4 staples.
That's because I kept thinking. I had to add. I added the definitions to my language so you guys wouldn't be too upset with me. Here's a statement from Tom Trail. We all know who he is, and you can read his statement at your leisure, since apparently you want me to keep it short. And Tom Trail also informs, and that is a sworn statement, by the way, at the county. And here's the book if you guys want to verify. I also had Bill Thompson, our county assessor. I had him also testify as to the damages that the 1912 building has caused me financially, and he was able to verify.
What is the date of the Tom Trail document?
That document is on July 6th this year, just a month ago.
Same with. You need to introduce yourself, Phil.
I'm Phil Roderick. I own CJ's at 112 North Main.
Okay, thank you. And the same date for the Bill Thompson document?
Absolutely, yes. Everybody get everything?
Yep.
Now I'm getting confused. All right, this here is, I did a records request from the city.
These my copy?
Yep.
Yes. I did a records request on June 21st, and it also states that as of December of 08, I have requested zero requests for liquor permits where I moved my license upstairs for wedding receptions. Just so you know, this Saturday I was also informed that another wedding reception had been canceled because they're taking it to the 1912 building. It's in November. Congratulations. This is what 153 permits look like from 98. And this represents approximately $64,000 a year in my income. I have had zero income since they took over the operation because they undercut the wedding reception business. I don't care what they charge the nonprofits. And currently, I donate every Wednesday and Thursday to nonprofits, and I always have. And I have given it lots of times to nonprofits for free. And do I get a thanks from the community? Never.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you. That's the first time ever.
Bill, I actually refer people to you all the time. I just really want you to understand my office. Yes, I actually do.
My fees have not risen since '97.
Which is good for you.
No, it's not good for me.
Yeah. You need to.
You're the chair.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't know the etiquette.
That's okay. And I understand this, Phil, and we'll review this as well as they're going to come back again with perhaps some modifications to the lease agreement.
Okay.
So,
well, there's something else that you also should take in consideration. You're only looking at the $100,000 that you guys are shelling out of my money, our money.
it's my money too.
I said our.
Okay.
But there's something else that's taking place that you're not putting in the calculation, and that is we put in $3.5 million into the operation so far. If it was being taxed as a property tax, that would be another 2%. So that's $80,000 a year in property taxes that we're also gifting them. So it's not just $100,000; it's $180,000 that we're gifting them, and that should be part of the calculation, since it is part of the calculation of all the private enterprise that sits on this side of the chair, in order to come up with a dollar value that we are able to charge and still make rent. The dollars that she's charging, go look at call Fork up and ask what a roll of toilet paper costs. Just in toilet paper and paper costs alone, it's going to cost them $30 to $40 for a wedding reception. Just paper cost alone. That's before you turn on the light switch and turn on any heat. Their fees do not encompass what the true reality of cost. And it doesn't have to, because they're being subsidized by no property taxes, and they're being subsidized by the city.
Well, Phil, if this was run by the city, such as like the Herc is, and like Egan Youth Center is, it would be the same situation.
No, it's not the same situation. The Egan Center isn't competing against any business in town. If we want to really do something good and Marxist, like what this is basically, is Marxism, well, I think what we ought to do is have the mayor bring in, and let's just take over all the real estate companies and put those offices upstairs and charge everybody a half a point to sell their property instead of a full 6% or whatever they charge out there. And let the city run that. And the county can get involved also because they're already in charge of they know how they could run the insurance program for title insurance. There's nothing. Why not just take it all?
We'll look into it.
I think it would be good. Because that's basically what the Heart of the Arts has done to CJ's. They've stolen all of my business. And in fact, he's in the audience. The Mark IV, 30 to 40% of their business when the gentleman bought the Mark IV came from rentals. He lost his rentals when these folks took over. And to this day, he now realizes what's happened. In fact, he took that room, one of the rooms there, and put pool tables in it and tried to be a competitor in the bar business because he was trying to survive. He didn't make it. They bankrupted him. And I want you to know that prior to these people, what we used to do is we would pass, when the Mark IV people, I didn't deal with him because they were already killed our rental business. But I would share my rentals. When there were less than 100 people, I would ship them over to the Mark IV. When there were more than 120-some people, they would ship them to me. When it got to 250, 270 people, I would ship them over to the Moose. And we sat there and we traded that business around between all of us. And all of us benefited. All of us.
That sounds kind of socialist, Phil.
No, it's capitalism. And it stayed in the people that were making some money with it. And I'm really saddened that they should not, if we're subsidizing them, they shouldn't be in the business of renting to private parties, period. Period. Because we subsidize them with $100,000 here, I subsidize them with the county property taxes. They are not to be in competition with me. In fact, there was a covenant made, and if you can go back in the records and you can ask the attorney, Randy knows that we had a covenant. And the covenant made by the city was to me, the Mark IV, and Bill Saylor. And that was that the 1912 building would always be rented above market rates. Above. What are they doing in the 50 percentile? They should be on the top of the list. They should be in the top. Especially with all those improvements. My God, it's a palace. I'm in the 50s still at CJ's. I'm in the 50s.
Yeah, that's something that we're going to have him dig up.
So that needs to be adjusted and taken into consideration because they're in breach of a contract they made with me, Mark IV, and that put them out of business. He's here. That put him out of business. That's a full and complete taking under the law, just so you know. I can't claim that because I still make money.
Okay. All right, well,
barely.
Walter.
Phil, would you catch Randy or Gary and give them whatever information you have about any type of agreement like a covenant in terms of where they might look for it?
She would have it on the very beginning hearings when the city was buying the building.
Just work with them
All right.
to see if there is such a thing out there. Please. Thank you.
Thanks, Phil. Thank you, guys. I think we're heading in a direction as far as...
Anybody else want to speak?
Come on up, Stu. We'll stretch her a little bit, I guess.
Thank you.
You bet.
Very quickly,
Introduce yourself.
I'm Stuart Scott. I'm also the spouse of councilperson Susan Scott. I'm here speaking on my own behalf as a recently retired business owner. That said, I'm not going to say anything about any of the points on the fees or what the city should do or should not. But I wanted to give some more additional information that may be of help to the council. That is, in the course of operating my business, which I sold in January, that was Camas Prairie Winery, I regularly obtained and engaged in catering events. Substantially, those were at the 1912 Center. So I wanted to point out as an alternative view to what Phil, my neighbor, says, and it sounds legitimately Phil's business is suffering. I've listed 9 different caterers, that includes myself, that had regularly catered at the 1912 Center. And those would be businesses which would suffer if that venue was not available for catering. In addition, on the list of 20 venues that you had, only 5 are for-profit businesses. Of those, it's been my experience that the majority of the 5, because they have liquor licenses, do not welcome, in fact, some I know specifically to forbid other alcohol vendors coming to cater on their premises. That was the extra information that I wanted you to have, as to balance. Some decisions do adversely affect some businesses. At the same time, they also positively affect other businesses. Thank you.
Thank you, Stu. Gary.
More comment?
Oh, I'll have one more. We might as well. Come on up and have her.
I just have a couple quick questions.
Just state your name and.
I'm Paul Towsley. I own, or at least for 2 more days, own the Sandpiper Restaurant.
You got to ask me.
Okay. Well, I had a, okay. Couple things. I've heard you talk a lot about nonprofit use of the facilities. What is the percentage of nonprofit to profit rentals?
What's the percentage?
Ooh, that's a good one. I don't have that answer.
But you said, though, that you only rent twice a month to nonprofits.
Right. So an individual nonprofit organization can only rent the building 2 times in a month.
Now, that's the same entity, but it can be more than one entity rented.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we
You
have.
several a month.
Oh yeah. I get. You don't have it.
There were 161 nonprofit rentals in the last 12-month period that Jenny gave me.
And how many for-profit?
I didn't count
Okay.
those, but I can.
I think that's probably important to know, because those are the ones that are in direct competition.
Jenny, off the top of your head, would you like to estimate the ratio of profit and nonprofits, subject to checking it? Because when I ask you who rents from you the most,
Nonprofits.
you said
tends-
nonprofits immediately, and then you thought, and you said 4-hour rentals, so.
Yeah, and actually, it's probably more like a 3-hour rental, as I revised when I gave you the numbers as an average. But a private event is like a wedding, a birthday party.
Sorority parties?
Yeah, I don't have a lot of those. The typicals, like in a month, I might have 5, but it depends on the month, because some months are, as we know, high season and more events are
So
occurring.
maybe 60 a year profit.
Probably, but I'd love to look at that number and get back to you guys on that one.
Okay.
All right.
I really think that's all I have.
Thank you.
Anything
Thank
else?
you. No, thanks.
All right, I'll let one more.
Christine Kavanaugh, Executive Director of the Kenworthy. And I just, quick perspective, the Kenworthy's rental rates, we are nonprofit, and a majority of our rentals are nonprofit, just like the 1912 Center, have gone up 20% in the last 5 years. Just quick perspective there. And I consider the 1912 Center and us very similar, but offering very different amenities to renters.
They don't have as many seats bolted to the floor.
Yes.
We don't have a big screen either,
Yes.
or
So,
stage.
just a quick perspective for that.
All right.
A question?
Yes.
You're showing $150 for a 4-hour nonprofit event, and our sheet does, and $450 for a 4-hour profit event. Do you feel that at the 150 rate, you're turning away business?
No.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, where'd Gary go?
Get back here.
Gotta watch him, he may try to go
Oh,
home.
he's leave on the
Waiting for
middle
him.
of it.
Thirsty.
He's getting thirsty. How would we like to proceed?
What are our choices, Gary? I mean, we're
Tim went ahead with continuing the lease as presented
I think
with the review of the.
Tim and Walter both indicated that They would like to see the lease renewed on its terms and recommended that the nonprofit rates be reviewed. Then the discussion ensued as to what sort of input do you want? Do you desire to expand the use committee? Excuse me, I called it a renewal. A renewal would be under the original terms. It's a new lease. It's a new lease. I'm sorry.
They don't want 20 years, and they pay it all.
As an attorney, I'm shamed by my inaccuracy. However, so what is your pleasure? I think expansion of the use committee makes a lot of sense. If the committee could be expanded from 5 members to 7 members, if 2 council members wanted to be on that committee, you still would not have
Or another member of city staff. I mean, that's what
You
we
bet.
do on the other.
some city representative, which would then, you wouldn't have sufficient numbers to control the committee's decision. However, you would have a sufficient number to have a voice. So perhaps that's how you want to proceed.
If it is renewed under the if it is done under the proposed terms of a new agreement, comment on the rental rates really only pertain to the competitive users in the community. It would have no impact on the city's subsidy price.
Precisely.
I have some other detailed questions about the agreement itself that we don't have time. I'll get with Randy and ask him some questions about some of the smaller terms in there about that. But we can put it on the full council agenda and talk about it and report what 2 out of 3 of us said here today and see where they want to go.
If I may.
Go ahead.
So on behalf of Heart of the Arts, an expansion of the use committee would be fine with you?
Absolutely,
Okay.
yes. In fact, I felt that 5 is too small because having a quorum is also a challenge sometimes during the winter. So it would be really great to have more people and more voices.
Okay, we can certainly take a look at that and have that prepared for next week.
All right. Let's get it done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.